Welcome to Angelo's Tennis, and we're talking about group training as the ideal. And before I get into it, I just want to mention that I have these tennis stickers for sale. Email me, check out my website. And I also am offering, despite what some people say on my channel, that I'm a joke of a coach, I am offering online tennis consultations right now for $50. $50 a meeting as of right now. So email me if you're interested. Trust me, if you like any of my content, you will benefit from my coaching, especially juniors out there or tournament players, or if you want to get better at competition, etc. This is going to really benefit you. So let's get into it. Group training. The ideal is group training. Private lessons, private training is not even close to ideal. It's a matter of convenience. And a lot of people will see the pros, the pros, top 100, etc., doing private training, etc. That is convenience. They're in a totally different world. It's a very selfish world. Okay, it's not even them ideally would train in a group or with other players. If you are let's say you're this learner TN coming up and you could train with Kei Nishikori, you would prefer to train with Kei Nishikori over your coach feeding you balls. Okay, trust me. So let's get into it. Group training, why is it better? Well, and how does it work? Well, here's how it works. First of all, from a beginner standpoint, like absolute beginning, stations are where it's at. Having the players run through stations. If they can't play, they run through stations. They're 3 years old, 4 years old. They're going through stations that increase their strength, increase their coordination, increase their speed, learning how the game works, learning the rhythm of it, learning the rules, learning the scoring, fun, learning how to socialize. All that is done in group training in stations. They're not even playing tennis yet. And, maybe a one-on-one with the coach. I used to do this in my club. A one-on-one with the coach may be part of the stations. You have a station, and that's coach-to-player training where you're trying to get them to hit a balloon ball or a big ball over a net with the person, or you're helping them with one of the stations. That's where that coach-to-player will come in handy. But the rest of the stations, they need to learn how to cooperate with other kids. There's so many benefits to all of this. It's not just about tennis. And this will make them better trainers, better players to train with as they get older. Because you're going to see a lot of kids as they get older, they're not good training partners, which is a problem. So let's move it along here. Then it becomes a group session. What's a group session? A group session is between 2 and 4 players. 4 players max. Now, what a lot of clubs are trying to do, they're trying to make it 6. They're trying to make it 6 because of the finances and because of the court space and how all that works. Some of them are trying to do 5. They get it down to 5. And I'm okay with 5. You can make this work with 5 as I'm going to get into, but 4 is the ideal. And here's why. Because you can have 3 different stations when you have 4 players training. Station 1 is one-on-one. They're playing against each other. They're doing competitive and cooperative games, drills, whatever you want to call it. Depending on the scenario, sometimes it will be drills, sometimes it'll be serious, sometimes it'll be fun. Coach has to work with this. The other one could be another. So you could have 2 pairs doing the same thing, and they could be going against each other as teams. You could also have the 2, and then you have the 1 playing with the coach, working on something that the other players just can't cooperate well enough right now to do. And then you can have the other one, doing a speed, a coordination game, a coordination, a strength, some type of exercise that they can do by themselves that you're going to integrate into the game of tennis on that day, ideally. So you have three stations there in that scenario. You have the one-on-one with the players, you have the one-on-one with the coach, and then you have the player by themselves doing some type of physical training And I shouldn't use the word training, because it could be, depending on the age, these can all be games. I mean, 8-year-olds you can run this practice with 8-year-olds, because they, some, and you think about it, some people like to do things by themselves. So this caters to all people. It's not just, and you can run a whole practice like this. I mean, worst case scenario, and worst case / best case scenario, you get in a situation where you have these different personalities. You can have the kid for half the practice going by himself. You can have 2 of them hitting off the wall the whole time. They're learning about what they like, and they have to have some preference, particularly with really young kids here. And you can do that with this flexible training. When the numbers get bigger than that, it's worthless. I mean, you got to do what you have to do, but this is nowhere near the ideal. 7, 8 kids on a court. I used to do this. I used to get really good at this, especially with the, with the mini tennis, or depends on how much space you have. You can always do 20 kids on a court, or I shouldn't say on a court, but like in a space, if it's circuit training or stations. But you're not going to do stations all the time, particularly with players that can play. They're not going to want to do stations. So this idea of more than 4 players on a court is just, it's for making money. And this is why the mini tennis is so crucial, which can be done. So I'm going to skip all that. Back to this idea of the numbers. The 4 is the ideal on a court. There's so much you can do. And put some videos up on the screen here. And the other thing is, if you are going to do the group together playing, where you have 1 in, 1 out, 1 in, 1 out, that's fine. The rhythm there is fine. They're playing the whole time that they're there, just like in tennis. 1 in, 1 out. By the time the player goes and gets their own ball, which they should be doing, this also does not require baskets. I mean, you could use, depending on what you're doing, you could use the basket. But player comes in, he feeds himself, for the most part. And then he goes and gets his own ball. Puts it in his pocket. By the time he goes and gets the ball, the other players are in and they're out and they're back up. And there's this rhythm to it. And that's another reason why 4 is the ideal number, because there's so much you can do. And even if one person doesn't show up, the coach can step in and play, and you still have 4. That's why this almost always works really well. Now, there's much more to this I'll get into maybe in a future video. This is just an introductory video. I hope you enjoy it. I hope this helps you, especially for coaches out there, but even for players, to understand how this works and understand the situations that you're in and what are going to be really good for your tennis and what is not going to be good for your tennis.